Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a while. I've been pretty busy with, all the holidays, and then the whole OGL business came up, and I was gonna make a video on that. And then the day I was planning to do that, we got the news that it was going back to the way it was, and plus some stuff. I'm not gonna go over it. I'm just gonna briefly say I'm still gonna make the book. I'm still going through with it. It's gonna be for 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if I'm going to make a 1D&D version anymore. We're going to have to wait and see how that all plays out. But I also plan on making it for Kobold Press, their version they're making for Project Black Flag. I'm also going to make this book as an adaptation for that system as well. So do look forward to that. We're getting very close to the completion, so I'm going to start trying to catch up a lot on videos. So today, we're going to be talking about the Channeler class, which is a psychic-based cantrip casting spellcaster. So it only knows cantrips, and it has psychic abilities. So it's unique. And so let's just get right into it. A woman wrapped head to toe in maroon bandages rushes into a lone tavern upon the hill. She telepathically tells the bustling tavern to silent. We must not make a sound. A Kolsk is approaching. It cannot see, but it can hear us. A Kolsk is a creature I made up. We'll get to that in a separate video. Just know that they're blind creatures. An ancient gnome squints his eyes, concentrating. He telepathically senses 16, no, 17 goblins in the tunnels above him. Grinning, he locks onto one and begins to control it. He causes a brawl to break out between the goblins. A high-spun kobold's eyes dart nervously around. He doesn't trust strangers. Unfortunately for him, his party is at a dinner gathering in their honor. As the host sits down at the large ornate table, the kobold reads his mind. He discovers the host has poisoned the drinks. This is some of the just brief summaries that classes get. These ones specifically for the channeler. The channeler is a very rare type of caster. Mental magic is not often studied due to its perception of being weak. However, a channeler knows how powerful control over the mind truly is, and their abilities to manipulate and communicate is second to none. A channeler uses solely cantrips and no-leveled spells. As such, in order to stand out and strengthen the cantrips, they use their mental prowess as well, with a unique feature which is called channel points. And using said channel points, they can increase the potency of their many cantrips and psychic powers of their mind. Let's get into the more statistic side. So, channelers, you're going to want to have your intelligence be one of your highest scores, be your highest score, very likely, because that is your spellcasting score. Then you either want to follow that up with wisdom or constitution, depending on if you want to be more of the intelligent and wise character, if you want to be lasting longer in a fight for constitution. Then you'd either want to select the acolyte or sage background, as that makes the most sense. Channelers have a d6 for their hit dice, which does make sense. They are a cantrip caster. And, having a d8 for them just feels a little strange for someone who's not meant to be at all in any sort of close combat. They get no armor proficiencies. They are proficient with simple and ranged weapons. Their saving throws are intelligence and wisdom that they're proficient in, and they can choose 2 skills from Arcana, Animal Handling, Insight, Perception, Deception, Persuasion, or Medicine. Their starting equipment is an Arcane Focus, 1 simple weapon or a ranged weapon, and then an Explorer's or Dungeoneer's pack. So let's go ahead and get into the levels. Level 1, you get Channel Psychics and Spellcasting. Starting at level 1, you start to gain what is known as channel points. You can expend channel points to do a variety of different things. You regain all expended channel points after finishing a long rest. Channel points works the same as key points. So they are determined on your level, and they're determined of one. You get 1 per level you have in this class, and you regain them whenever you finish a long rest. You can spend channel points to do one of 4 things. You either do Blaster, which you can spend 1 channel point to increase the spell save DC of your channel or cantrip by 1 as they're being cast. This reverts at the end of your turn. This can spend more than you can spend more than 1 to a maximum of 6 channel points. Each point you spend increases your spell save DC by that much for that cantrip. So it's ways to, casting 2 cantrips in a turn. It's for when you're casting the turn, you can go Blaster and you increase your spell save DC. We then also have Deflector. When you have at least 1 hand free and a creature hits you with a spell attack or a ranged weapon attack, you can use your reaction and 3 channel points to add your proficiency bonus to your armor class for that attack, potentially causing the attack to miss you. Next, we got the Psychic Sniper. You can spend 1 channel point to increase your ranged spell attack rolls to hit modifier by 1. Additionally, when using this, your spell attack rolls ignore half cover and have double range. And the final ability that you can choose the final option you can choose, there is the word, is the Mystic Striker. You can spend 1 channel point when using a cantrip with a spell attack roll, either ranged or melee. If you exceed the creature's armor class by 5 or more, then it is considered a critical hit. Now, you can actually choose to use this after you have rolled the hit and know what your hit is. So if you barely miss a crit, but you know it's hitting the creature by more than 5 or more, you can just go, yeah, channel point, Mystic Striker, that's a crit now. Pretty useful, I say, but they also only have the 4 options, and some of them are also kind of useful of ignoring half cover, or increasing your AC by a little bit, or increasing the spell save DC of your cantrips. Next up is spellcasting. Pretty much everyone should know how spellcasting works. This class is a little different in the fact that it doesn't have any leveled spells. It just has cantrips. But their cantrip number is higher than other classes. They start with 4. They start with 4 cantrips at level 1, and they increase the number of cantrips that they know as they level up to a maximum of 10. They have intelligence as their spellcasting modifier, and they use an arcane focus when they're doing it. Though they don't need it, the arcane focus is more of a way to use your channel psychics alongside of your spells. Starting at level 2, we have Unarmored Defense. When you are not wearing any armor, you gain an unarmored defense. You can now add your intelligence modifier and your dexterity modifier to your armor class instead of just your dexterity bonus. So that's just a little bit of increased armor since you are a caster with no leveled spells to cast mage armor on yourself. You get this as a secondary option. Starting at level 3, you get Telepathy and Channeling Domain. With Telepathy, starting at level 3, you gain a little bit of telepathy. You gain the following benefits. You can speak telepathically to any creature you can see within 120 feet of you. Your telepathic utterance are in a language you know, and the creature understands you only if it knows that language. Your communication doesn't give the creature the ability to respond to your telepathy. And you can cast the Detect Thoughts spell, requiring no spell slot or component, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it in this way again. So you do get a spell slot, a single one for Detect Thoughts, but you only get that to do that once. It's not bad. It's pretty good. Next up is the Channeling Domain, which is your subclass. There's 6 different subclasses. The subclasses are as follows. They are the Archaic, which uses their blood in mixture with their psychic abilities and their magic. There's the Wild Psychic, which gains the ability to cast some level spells as if it was a 1/3 caster. You know how Eldritch Knight is. Same stuff as that, and the ability to use wild magic alongside of those. There's Tempest Magic, which uses the power of the storms and psychic to fly around and electrify your enemies. There's the Psy Blades, which allows you to use your psychic to create blades of pure psychic energy to battle up front with the martial fighters. There are abilities alongside that to help it with melee, since you're not a melee class, and you have a d6. There's the Chaos Blessed, which is a psychic blessed with chaos and raw magic gifts. In the chaos table for every spell you cast, you can check that out with the raw magic video. We went over how that raw magic and chaos table works. Then there is the Mime subclass, which uses the powers of a mime to create invisible objects by miming them. It is pretty great because it's pretty much just your imagination is just going wild with that one. You can do pretty much anything. It's a fun subclass, but also has, the Vow of Silence. But also you're a psychic. You can communicate with your mind. So the Vow of Silence doesn't really matter all that much. At level 4, we have an ability score improvement. Hooray, we're at this again. I'm just going to skip over each of those things that we're going to skip. At level 5, we have Hardened Mind and Cantrip Attack. With Hardened Mind, starting at level 5, your mind becomes stronger. You gain the following benefits. You gain resistance to psychic damage, and you gain advantage on saving throws against the Charmed and Frightened effect, or conditions. I keep feeling a burp wanting to come, and it keeps not coming, and that's really bothering me right now, but I'm going to keep going. I might burp randomly in the middle of it. It'd be funny. Next, we got the Cantrip Attack. Starting at 5th level, you can now cast a second cantrip with a casting time of 1 action when you're taking an action, meaning during your action, you can now cast 2 cantrips with a casting time of 1 action. Essentially, is an extra attack, but instead of the attack action, you can cast, instead of just doing attacks, you can cast cantrips that have a casting time of an action. So you can go with Ray of Frost and Firebolt in 1 action. This is another way to help keep it up with the other ones that are casting, like fireballs at this level. Starting at level 6, we got Telekinesis. Starting at level 6, you can spend an action to enter a telekinetic state. As your action each round for the duration, you can exert your will on one creature or object that you can see within range, causing the appropriate effect below. You can affect the same target round after round or choose a new one at any time. If you switch targets, the prior target is no longer affected. You can use this feature once and regain the use after finishing a long rest. For the next 10 minutes, you gain the following benefits. You can try to move a huge or smaller creature, make an ability check with your spellcasting ability contested by the creature's strength check, and then you can attempt to move the creature up to 30 feet in any direction, including upward, but not beyond the range of this ability, this is just the telekinesis spell. You gain access to the telekinesis spell, a pretty dang good and kind of high level spell at 6th level. You can do it once for free. So it's very handy. I'm not going to go over the whole thing because it's a long spell, but it's another way to just, have telekinesis. You can now also be manipulating the battlefield while doing all your other things with your allies. Pretty dang helpful. Level 7, we got the Channeling Domain feature. We're going to skip over that. Level 8, Ability Score Improvement. Level 9, Nothing. Level 10, we got the Psychic Surge. Being at 10th level, you learn to, for a moment, tap into a vast reservoir of magical power and unleash it upon your foes. On your turn, when you deal damage with a channeler cantrip, you can deal twice the number of damage dealt by the spell. You can't use this feature on a spell that has scored a critical hit. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So essentially I guess you can say it's kind of like Path to the Grave from the Grave Clerics, but it doesn't make vulnerability. It deals twice. So essentially it's like if you crit, but you can't use it on a crit. So essentially it's another forcible crit kind of thing. So it's pretty nice. And this does not work in tandem with the Mystic Blast thing, where you turn a thing to a crit, because it turns it into a critical hit. This does not work if it's a critical hit. So they don't work in tandem very well, but it still essentially allows you to do a lot of ways to just pull off crits. At level 11, they get Psychic Casting. Starting at 11th level, you can spend 1 channel point to change the damage from one of your cantrips into psychic damage. The psychic damage dealt from this ignores resistances to psychic damage. Now they're pretty good, short ability, but pretty good. Level 12 is Ability Score Improvement, 13 is a Channeling Domain feature, and 14 is Nothing. 15 is Mental Invasion. Starting at 15th level, you can now add 2d6 psychic damage to all spells and weapon attacks that you deal. In addition, all psychic damage you deal now ignores resistances And if a creature has immunity to psychic damage, the psychic damage you deal makes it resistant instead of immune. So essentially, you're always going to be dealing psychic damage to creatures as long as you deal damage to them. Starting at 16th level, we have an ability score improvement, so we can skip that. At 17th level, you get Mystic, Mental Disruption. You have learned how to disrupt the minds of others quite severely. Starting at 17th level, you are able to, as an action, target one creature. Then that target must then make a mental saving throw, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, your choice, against your spell save DC, and take 4d6 psychic damage. Upon a success, they take half damage and know someone tried to mess with their mind. Upon a failure, they have that ability score cut in half. You may do this a number of times equal to your intelligence ability score modifier. You regain all uses after finishing a long rest. This feature cannot lower a creature's intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score below a 6. If you can target the same creature after 10 days have passed. So you can't do this to one creature and get all 3 of their mental scores cut in half, unfortunately. And this effect on this creature only lasts for a single day, and that effect reverts after a day has passed. So another really good support ability, which makes one that makes sense as a psychic. At 18th level is a channeling domain feature, and at 19th level is the final ability score improvement. Then at 20th level, the capstone level of the channeler, they get an ability called Ultimate Mind. Starting at 20th level, your mind becomes unparalleled to anything else. You gain the following benefits. Your intelligence ability score and maximum increases by 4. Your wisdom ability score and maximum increases by 4. Your intelligence can no longer be reduced by any means, magical or non-magical. So it's very similar to the barbarian capstone, where their strength and con get increased by 4. This is the exact same thing, but with intelligence and wisdom instead, and their intelligence cannot be reduced. And I think with that brings us to the end of the Channeler class, a unique cantrip casting only spellcaster, but a fun one. If you know what you're doing, you can pull off a lot of fun with it. You can burpee so close. You can pull off critical hits very often with your spells, even though they're not going to do terribly too much, because they're still only cantrips. You can still pull off critical hits. And I will say, on the Channeler spell list, they do get Eldritch Blast. So you can have a lot of fun with Eldritch Blast. Because then you can start casting, at 5th level, you'd be casting 2 and then another 2, all as a part of the same action. By 17th level, because you can cast 4 beams at 17th level, at 17th level you can spend an action and cast out 8 Eldritch Blasts. Unfortunately, you're not a Warlock, so you don't have Agonizing Blast that they would get, so you wouldn't be able to add your Charisma. But if you have your Charisma decently high and you pick up the Eldritch Adept feat to get Agonizing Blast, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Then you'll be doing some extra damage alongside of everything else you're doing. So this is it's a unique class. It's probably not fully on par with, full spellcasters, but they have a lot of their support-based abilities and going to be critting a whole bunch on smaller things by forcing crits out by spending points or by getting high enough or by just forcing things to be this, by forcing a crit out. It's really interesting. So thank you all for watching. I'm sorry it took 4 months, I think, 3-4 months to get another video out, but we're going to start just going down the list, making a bunch of videos about every single class in this book. I have not decided which one I want to do next. I'm either going to go in alphabetical order and go straight to the commander next, which is the summoning class, or I don't know if I'm going to jump over to either the gambler or the weaver, which are 2 classes that I really do want to talk about because they're probably the 2 most fleshed out classes and the ones that I enjoy the most that I have made. But once I decide a video will come out, I'll probably just end up going in alphabetical order and go through the whole thing. But with that, I guess I'll see you guys next time, whenever that'll be. Hopefully not another 4 months. Remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.